Hello, this is Angela R. Sasser of AngelicArtisan.com. I'm here to show you a little glimpse into the process behind this Buckeye Barrette. This Buckeye Barrette was made from a scrap of piece of leather, which is about 8 ounces in weight. My patterns are created in Photoshop first and then printed out and transferred onto the leather after it has been dampened. I'm just using a ballpoint pen to impress the designs into damp leather here. No, I do not work this fast. This is sped up about twice the normal speed I work at. As you can see, there's the clean design. Now I'm using craft shears to cut away the excess leather. These are heavy-duty scissors. They're not the kind you would use every day. They're especially for leather. And now I'm using an angle-headed utility knife to cut the little frills in the butterfly wings. Now I'm dampening the leather again and using a swivel blade to tool the designs. I'm cutting them in first, and that gives the butterfly its lovely veins. That's what makes them so convincing. Now I'm dampening once again so I can use the modeling spoon to push the leather down and emboss the designs in. And that helps bring more accent to the dimension of the veins. Now, to bring even more texture to the wings, I'm using a pointed stylus to scratch them into the surface. You can also use an X-Acto knife to do this. It's a subtle texture that just looks so good. And now you just leave it in water so it can be molded later into a barrette. And I do all of this by hand. And there I'm using the clasp to form the barrette so it curves nicely over the clasp. Now we've moved on to painting. I've dyed this with brown dye, and I'm just adding the markings of the Buckeye with a very fine point. My favorite brand of acrylic to use for this purpose is Liquitex, and the dye is Eco-flo. And I use a dye first just to make sure it adheres really well. The color adheres really well into the veins, which are sometimes hard to get paint into. Dye just has a better absorption into the leather. So it's a good base coat for when you're painting. And from here on out, it's checking a reference photo and making sure all my markings are just right. And when painting butterflies, you have to be aware of how the color lays down on the wings. So there's a lot of layering and a lot of placement that makes the markings look convincing. Lots of layering. More layering. And another nice effect on butterfly wings is to use a mix of matte finish paint and metallic paint. And the undercoat of the little eyes there was made with a metallic paint. That way it has a brilliance that shines out from beneath the paint, which makes them even more convincing as wings. And the rough texture that you can get with a brushstroke works really well for butterfly wings because butterfly wings are made of small scales that give kind of a fuzzy, pixelated look when you see them up close. It's very cool. More layers. Never ending layers. But that's why they're so fun. Now I've added interference purple, which is that shine you see in the eyes of the Buckeye's eyes. Interference paint is an acrylic paint that adds an opalescence to the colors. It's also quite expensive. Save your pennies if you plan to use a lot of interference paint. And I've already varnished the piece with satin varnish. And here I'm gluing the swing clasp on with Goop and applying the Goop with the toothpick. I use Goop for everything from gluing clasps to gluing metal. It's my go-to glue. They're cleaning up the Goop with the toothpick. And here we are, folks, the finished barrette. I have many other leather crafts inspired by butterflies and moths, which you can see online at my website, angelicartisan.com. I also sell my designs at angelicartisan.etsy.com. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel to watch more videos that show more of my arts and crafts process. Keep on creating!